What is going on, everyone? Welcome into my Week 15 NFL Power Rankings. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way here. We've got a huge Monday Night Football game ahead of us here with the Cardinals and the Rams, two teams that obviously are going to come in at the top of these rankings. And I had to record this video here on Sunday night, heading out of town here on Monday, heading down to Illinois to get ready for my wedding on Saturday. So obviously not going to be able to record any content throughout the week. I do, by the way, have a pretty sweet film-based video coming out on Wednesday that I'm really excited for you guys to see. A mock draft next Monday because there won't be power rankings next week. But anyway, I'm going to play around with some possible outcomes as far as what we could see here tonight and how it could impact those rankings at the top. But wanted to get that out of the way. I really hope you guys enjoy this video. Please do hit that like button. If you do, consider it a wedding gift to me. Would really help me out. If we could get 1,000 likes on this video, it'd mean the world to me. Really so thankful, by the way, for a great year with you guys, and can't wait to turn this into draft season and get into next year. So getting a little sentimental there, but let's go ahead and get started at the bottom with someone who I don't know if he is humanly capable of being sentimental. That is Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are going to fall to the bottom spot in my power rankings. This team is hapless. There's locker room dysfunction. There's dysfunction with their scheme. This team is broken and, in my opinion, currently the worst team in the NFL. I cannot believe that they did not instantly fire Urban Meyer after they got shut out by the Titans. Whatever is going on there, it's inexplicable. He's got to go, or Trevor Lawrence could be a bust, which is just a tragedy. Then we have the Houston Texans, and the fact that they are not the biggest tragedy in the NFL right now speaks volumes to how bad Urban Meyer is. But there's nothing good to really say about the Texans either. They competed early on against Seattle, and then Seattle pulled away. It's pretty much the narrative of the Houston Texans season. Not enough talent. But hey, at least Bill Burr is their punter, so that's funny, literally. The New York Jets are going to drop down a spot as well. This team, beat the Houston Texans a couple weeks ago, and then since then just hasn't been able to get the offense working. The defense has been really disappointing with Robert Saleh this year. They are genuinely one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the league. It's not time to put blame on Robert Saleh or say it's his fault, but the pressure is going to stack up pretty quickly next year, as things do happen to do in New York. He's supposed to fix this defense, and it's not really working right now. Then we got the Detroit Lions moving up a spot, not really to anything of their own. I think the Jets are just a worse team. The Lions got blown out this week too. We're in the garbage tier here. There's not a lot to say about these teams. And the New York Giants are going to climb into this garbage tier, though staying put at number 28. Until Daniel Jones gets back, the Giants are clearly in this tier. Better than those four teams, but not by a whole lot. Let's start talking about some more scrappy teams. But the Carolina Panthers at 27, dropping down another spot here. What do you know? Firing Joe Brady didn't fix this team's offensive woes. They lose to the hapless Falcons this week. What else is there to say about the Panthers other than stock is not just down on this team's season, but on the organization's future, as the entire Joe Brady offensive coordinator firing is really head-scratching, to say the least. The fact that Matt Rule had disagreements with him, the fact that they felt that was a piece of their organization that they could part with, nothing just seems to add up with that entire situation, and definitely stock down for the Panthers. Then the Chicago Bears are going to stay put. They hung with the Packers thanks to their special teams. I don't think we learned too much about the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. Good to see Justin Fields back. You get the highs, you get the lows. It's a development process. This team's just kind of going through the motions, hoping to kind of develop Fields week to week and start to kind of see what they can do next year with probably a new head coach. And then the Atlanta Falcons at 25, they do beat the Panthers this week. They get Kyle Pitts going a little bit more. Cordarrelle Patterson is a genuine beast. I really hope he makes it into the Pro Bowl. The defense can do some fun stuff. A.J. Terrell, believe it or not, has genuinely been one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL this year. He's really impressive, and the fact that he does that really with not a lot of help around him on that defense, speaks volumes. So it's not all bad for the Falcons. They are vying for that measly 7 seed in the NFC. Now, if they get it, they would get slaughtered in the first round. It's why I have a tier gap here, just with those 3 teams right there, because Panthers, Bears, Falcons, they aren't bottom-feeding garbage teams, but they're bad football teams. Make no mistake about it. And then we get into like scrappy teams that I wouldn't say are like really bad teams, but obviously not good traditional playoff caliber teams, but all these guys are still kind of in the mix. Anyway, the New Orleans Saints turning things around a little bit this week. Obviously a get-right game against the Jets, but so obvious that having Alvin Kamara opens up that offense. A little closet opinion I have is that Alvin Kamara is, if not the best running back in the NFL, the most valuable running back. I think he is the one running back that so consistently you can look at and say when he's not out there, their offense just is not the same. And it's because of what he does in the receiving game. And he's so good at making that first defender miss, whether he's catching the ball or running it. So he is a genuine difference maker. So good to have him back. That alone makes that offense serviceable. It helps them just convert first downs and keep the defense fresh, because this is a good defense. So the Saints are not a good football team, but definitely turning things around a little bit. No rising or falling movement this week, but they're in the mix for that terrible 7 seed in the NFC. Same with the Seattle Seahawks. They get to play the Detroit Lions. I think also the Bears. They could get it, and I don't think anyone really wants to play Russell Wilson in the first round. I think you'd rather get Taysom Hill or Matt Ryan and those Falcons, but there's so many other problems with the Seahawks. I don't think they have much of an identity on offense. Russ is not playing like Russell Wilson, though he is getting better every single week, and that defense has been just kind of solid. So the Seahawks are hanging around. We'll see what they can do here down the last few weeks. Could be interesting. Then the Las Vegas Raiders dropping down 4 spots here this week. I think this was the nail in the coffin for their season. For one, there's just too many AFC teams alive in this playoff race, but this team so clearly is just desperately seeking for that head coach. They're desperately seeking for someone to pull them out of the darkness and give them some direction. And that's really what this is. And they don't have anyone that's going to give that to them. They've got a long offseason ahead. They got to find a head coach. They got to look themselves in the mirror and ask if this core of players is a talented enough group to get them to where they want to be. But what a depressing week for the Las Vegas Raiders, getting just demolished by the Kansas City Chiefs from the get-go. Like, I didn't even have time to fill up my coffee and sit down before the Chiefs scored a touchdown in this game. Then we are going to keep the tie with the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles on bye this week. Washington, I feel like, looked about like the team I've been saying they are. I picked the Cowboys to cover the spread this week. I didn't think Washington would be all that close. Didn't think they matched up talent-wise, and they really didn't. But at the same time, they showed the resiliency that they're a well-coached team. They've scratched and clawed their way back into this game, and they had a chance at the end. So I'm going to keep these two teams. They're incredibly tight. They're fighting for playoff hopes in the NFC, and they play each other twice in the next 3 weeks. So if nothing else, this is fun to just kind of line up these NFC East fans at each other and let them go at it in the comments. But I'm going to let these two play themselves out over the next couple of weeks. Then we have the Denver Broncos getting a +3 this week. What are the Denver Broncos? They're one of the harder teams to kind of nail down right now. They're capable of good defensive play. They're capable of running the ball, and even Teddy Bridgewater is capable of good football games. They beat the Chargers a couple weeks ago. They destroyed a Lions team this week that's playing better ball lately. I don't think they're a great football team, but clearly they're fighting for a lot right now. They're fighting for the playoffs. They may or may not be fighting for Vic Fangio's job. They're fighting for Demaryius Thomas. What a cool tribute that was. Just warmed my heart. Really cool stuff. If you haven't seen the Demaryius Thomas tribute that the Broncos did, taking the delay of game before this game started, look it up. It's worth it. It's really, really well done. But +3 for the Broncos, staying alive here. And then the Miami Dolphins on bye this week are going to creep up. One, because I do think they're a better team than the Raiders at this point in time. Now, we're going to have a tier gap here because all of those teams from this point that we've talked about, I don't see them making any semblance of noise if they were to make the playoffs. But as we move forward here, these are imperfect teams that could play spoiler in the playoffs, and they're also teams that are fighting to get in to the playoffs. So the Baltimore Ravens are going to drop down 5 spots. The injuries, it's really all that's worth talking about for the Ravens at this point, as Lamar Jackson, who had been carrying this team recently, well, not even recently, he had not been playing well, but he was really all they had. He's now injured. His ankle's beat up. I don't know if he's going to get to go against Green Bay next week, but they lose Marlon Humphrey last week. They are literally playing their practice squads on both sides of the ball, and it's a shame because they're keeping their team alive. It's just interesting to think of what they could have been if they stayed healthy, but it's probably just not going to happen for the Ravens. And honestly, as they sit here right now, I don't even know if they're a top 20 football team. But if Lamar plays this week, they probably are. Just really tough, man. But definitely needed to come down after basically not being competitive against the Browns. They put up a fight last second, but this game really wasn't all that close. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers dropping down 1. Embarrassing Thursday night football performance. Don't want to overreact to Thursday night football. They're coming off a big win the week before. They can still do some stuff, especially defensively. They're really good. Big Ben, actually the last couple weeks, hasn't been bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL. Big Ben, which is optimistic, but at the end of the day, this just isn't an offense that you can lean on, and to see them come out and play so flat and undisciplined defensively is concerning for a team that needs to count on that defense, not just game to game, but drive to drive. You need a dominant defense with the way this team is constructed, and very clearly they're imperfect there on that side of the ball. Then the Minnesota Vikings. What a week-to-week team this team is. If they can do well at the line of scrimmage, which is not easy for them to do because they don't have a lot of talent on either side of the ball with their line play. But if they can come out and play physical like they did this week on a short week, playing pissed off after they lost to the Detroit Lions last week, well, they can run the ball. Getting Dalvin Cook back healthy, clearly a game changer there for them. And that buys time for Kirk to hit Justin Jefferson, and Kirk is not a bad quarterback. So, the Vikings are a team that if they show up, can beat a lot of teams, if not anybody in the NFL. The question is, are they going to show up? Then we got the Cleveland Browns. Looked good coming off the bye week. I thought Baker Mayfield played a much better game, made some big throws. Keep in mind, he's going out there with Jarvis Landry as his number 1 receiver, and he looked okay. And he did throw the 1 interception. It was a little bit of a miscommunication with his receiver, and they really just took care of business. The defense was great. They get a defensive touchdown here this week. And I think the Browns are in pretty good shape for a end-of-season push to at least be a playoff caliber team. They need Baker Mayfield to play like that consistently if they want to win playoff games, but starting to look a little better after this week. Then we got the Tennessee Titans moving up 1. They get Julio Jones in there this week, and things are getting very interesting for Tennessee. They've taken care of enough wins to basically, with the easy schedule they have remaining, to feel good that they're at least going to make the playoffs and likely win their division. And what's so fascinating about that is if they get healthy into the playoffs, those ugly losses within the last 2 months that I've, lowered the Titans and gone at it with Titans fans, none of that's going to matter, because if this team is healthy, if they get Derrick Henry, Taylor Lewan continues to get more healthy, if you get those 2 receivers in the mix, Tannehill starts playing better and heats up and plays with more confidence when he gets those guys in there, you've got a defense that has learned how to play better when you got to lean on that unit a little bit more. And all of a sudden, the Titans can very quickly, just by getting players back from injury, get into the top, I guess, 2 or 3 teams in the AFC. So that's not where they're at right now. They beat a decrepit Jaguars team, so I'm not like, oh my God, amazing win or anything. It's more about they're staying alive and they're getting guys back healthy. So the Titans are kind of a sleeping giant right now. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to drop down 2 and out of the Super Bowl tier. I'm sorry, Bengals fans, the Joe Burrow comeback. If you get a quarterback that can turn the thing on like that, you're never out of any football game. But the reality is this team, they have a lot of inconsistency at this point. Like, to win a Super Bowl, which our next tier is teams that I can picture winning a Super Bowl, right? This tier is teams that I think could play spoiler and make some noise. I don't trust the Bengals to play 4 straight weeks of consistent good football. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's just they're not ready. They're too young of a team. Hard to explain. But that's, 4 of the last 6 weeks, right? They've come out and just played flat, started slow, made stupid mistakes, and that's not a Super Bowl team. So disappointing for them to do that against the Niners. 2 muffed fumbled punts. It was stupid stuff, right? They probably were the better team than the Niners in this game, but the Niners took better care of the football and they executed when it mattered. The Bengals did not. So the Bengals are going to drop down 2 spots, and the Niners are going to benefit from a huge road win here, going up 2. Kyle Shanahan's got his it factor. They have found the identity of this offense. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Jimmy Garoppolo playing pretty good football. Not great football. He's not the franchise quarterback or anything, but this guy has gotten so much crap over the last, 400 days or so. Even within this season, people have said he's a backup caliber guy. He's got to be benched. Put Trey Lance in immediately. No, he's doing his best Alex Smith impression for Trey Lance, who's learning behind Jimmy Garoppolo. He's doing his job. The offense has been very good with Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, you're going to get a couple mistakes from him. He will turn the ball over occasionally. He's not a perfect quarterback, but he's solid, man. And I'm excited to see where Jimmy goes next year as well. Niners got to be happy that he's increasing his value, and they should be able to get, at least a 3rd-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. Are the Niners a Super Bowl team this year? I've gotten that question from some Niners fans. I don't know. I don't see the defense having the upside to be a championship defense, though they're playing much better lately. And again, with Jimmy Garoppolo, can he go and beat in multiple games a Tom Brady and then an Aaron Rodgers, beat the Cowboys and then beat the Cardinals and then beat the Bucks? That's a pretty tall order. I just don't see that happening. I think the Niners are a year away from being a true Super Bowl team. But man, Kyle Shanahan reclaiming all of the credit that he deserves. And what a turnaround it has been for the Niners. So a nice round of applause for that group. Okay, now we get into the top 10 and teams that I can see winning a Super Bowl. The Los Angeles Chargers inside that tier for me. They take care of business against the Bengals last week. You get Justin Herbert coming out and seriously looking like an MVP contender. The throw he made that went viral, unbelievable. One of the best throws of the season, and it's competing with another throw he made. Was it against the Cowboys where he had a throw kind of similar to that? I can't remember exactly what game that was, but it was eerily familiar. Rolling out to the right, cannon on the move, about to get hit, and just a dime like 70 yards down the field. It's not just that. The processing, he avoids mistakes. He gets better pass protection. It's not just him. Like, the Chargers offense, when they are rolling, is lethal. You got playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Bosa, Derwin, get those guys healthy. You can make enough plays on defense to maybe go on a run. It's a tall order, but they've got the talent to do it, and they're heating up at the right time. The Buffalo Bills not heating up at the right time, though they fought in this game. They would probably have been falling outside of the Super Bowl tier if they didn't turn it on in the second half of this game, because they looked like an average football team against the Bucs. I still just really don't trust this Bills defense post Tre'Davious White. You really saw those corners struggling. Those Bucs receivers were screaming open all game. And then offensively, they're just very inconsistent. They don't run the ball well. And Josh Allen, let's face it, he's an inconsistent passer at this point in time. We don't need to argue about it. It's just kind of obvious right now. So they're still a very good team. They're very much living off of what they accomplished last year. And it was really good to see those flashes from last year show up in the second half against the Bucs, but still unable to finish the game. Definitely some tough breaks, but they put themselves in a tough position to begin with before the heated comeback in the end. So no movement for the Bucs. I think this was kind of a up and down week, capable of some really good things and capable of some disappointing things as well. And then we've got the Colts at 8, the Patriots at 7, both teams on bye, and that rounds out this tier of Super Bowl contenders, but teams that I would really say honestly are mostly Super Bowl contenders because of the state of the AFC. The Kansas City Chiefs are the only team left that I consider a true Super Bowl contender, and if anybody can beat the Chiefs in an upset, then the AFC is wide open. And those 4 teams, 7 through 10, are teams that I think have a good chance of being opportunistic in that scenario. But again, not teams like our remaining 6, where these guys are well-rounded, high-level quarterbacks, versatile offenses, really good defenses, teams that can, make you play left-handed, beat you in a variety of different ways. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to start with my actual prediction for tonight's game, and that is that the Rams beat the Cardinals in a really good, well-fought game and pull through in the end. And if that happens, I will have the Dallas Cowboys at 6. I think the Cowboys, of course, are in this tier. The defense showed some great stuff against Washington, and Micah Parsons is not just the defensive rookie of the year, because that is locked away. You can start sending that one in now, but he is competing for the defensive player of the year. You do have an opportunistic secondary, though a secondary that can be beat. And then you have an offense that can do exactly what I said, beat you in a multitude of different ways. But right now they have a little bit of an identity crisis, and I think Dak Prescott has really cooled down. Hard to say exactly what it is, if he's just not seeing the field as well, or if teams have caught on to his tendencies, or what's going on, but he very clearly has not been that alpha dog quarterback that he was for the first 7 to 8 weeks of the season or so. He is not free of blame. He had a couple really bad interceptions in this game. One was a pick 6 that completely let Washington back into this game when they had no business re-entering it. But if the Rams win, I will be pushing them above the Cowboys. A little tough to do this type of analysis because this game hasn't happened, and ideally I wouldn't have to do this, but we got the wedding coming up this week. I'm out of town. I had to do it. So if the Cowboys can come out, Matthew Stafford plays a good game. That's really what this is about for me. I feel pretty good about everything else on the Rams, coaching, roster, defense, but I need to see Matthew Stafford in a big game, primetime football, come out and play a full game of football. Don't make these stupid mistakes he's been doing against teams not named the Jacksonville Jaguars over the last month. That's what I want to see. I think we do see it, and if we do, I'm starting to feel pretty good about the Rams to push them up over the Cowboys. Then the Kansas City Chiefs at 4, the slaughter of the Las Vegas Raiders. This is the best team in the AFC right now. Steve Spagnuolo deserves so much credit for what he's done with this defense. They bring in Melvin Ingram. They slide Chris Jones back inside. They finally start Willie Gay full time. They get these corners back in there healthy. They have just evolved this defense over the season, and they have gone from worst to like top 10 overnight. Really impressive stuff. You don't often see that. And then, by the way, they got Mahomes, they got Tyreek Hill, who can do some just crazy stuff. They get Clyde Edwards-Helaire back, who has been a nice boost to their run game, where they have genuinely one of the best run blocking lines in the NFL. It's not your father's Kansas City Chiefs, if you will. This is a different team, but they're very clearly the best team in the AFC at this point in time. I don't even know. I guess the Patriots you could maybe argue, but I just don't see it. Not with Mahomes and those guys on offense compared to Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne. Then we have the Arizona Cardinals in this world. Not going to overreact. It would be a respectable loss, if you will. You never want to see a loss like that. And it would kind of confirm a closet take of mine that the Cardinals are a little bit closer to teams like the Cowboys and the Rams and the Chiefs than they are to teams like the Bucs and the Packers. Again, this is a theoretical take of how I think this game could play out. So I don't want to spend too much time on that because it could very quickly change based on new information. But the Bucs and the Packers are the two best teams in the NFL right now. Both these teams are heating up. They're both getting healthier. It really felt like the NFC Championship last year was the Super Bowl, and it feels like we're heading that way again. Both these teams do not want to lose because they're fighting for that 1 seed that is so important to get that first round bye in the NFC this year. You force those other 4 teams to, play each other a little bit. But I mean, both these teams have great defenses. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are the two best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Whichever way you want to debate that, fine. But I think it's pretty clear that's one and two in whatever order. Both these teams can run the ball. Both these teams can pass the ball. They both rush the passer. They both have great secondaries. They're both well coached. Like, they're both experienced. Like, there's just so few weaknesses in these two teams. Both are starting to play much better football. That's why I have these two as a tier gap above the rest of this crop. Now, that's not set and stone. There is another scenario here. So what happens if the Cardinals win? Now, this is like Cards win, good close game, well-fought game from both teams. What do I think? I'm going to move the Cardinals down a spot still. I just am that impressed by the Bucs. I think their experience, their depth at different positions, it's just a tick above the Cardinals. But in this world, I will keep the Cardinals inside that top tier with the Packers and the Bucs. Ultimately, I think this is a huge game for the Cardinals to prove that culture, that continuity, their ability to go head-to-head with really good teams like the Rams are going to come out and play on Monday Night Football. So I think it would still be a big win for them. I'm just that much more impressed by the Bucs. But if the Cardinals win big, like crush the Rams and humiliate them, I'll keep them at number 2 and say, all right, this team just has too much talent. They're too well coached, and they deserve to stay put and not move the Bucs above them. But that world would push the Rams down, because I think if that happens, it means Matthew Stafford is officially a major concern. I don't see the Rams getting blown out if Matthew Stafford plays well. So if he does not play well, I would drop them below the Patriots, because I think the Patriots have just been a more consistent team than the Rams at that point. If it happens, and I would be dropping the Rams out of those two Super Bowl tiers. So I hope you're able to follow the different scenarios there. Ultimately, I'm predicting a Rams win tonight. Should be a really good game. We don't always get great Monday Night Football games like that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the power rankings. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe. I've got a really exciting film breakdown coming out on Wednesday. I think it's one of the best production quality videos I've made on this channel, not just this year, but probably ever. So I'm really excited about it. I'm not going to spoil what player it's about, but it's a player that I have had some hot takes about and been pretty loud about over the last few years that has had an amazing season. So we're going to dive into the film on him, and I'll leave it at that. I appreciate you guys for watching. Please do hit that like button. We'll see you on Wednesday for that film breakdown. Peace out.